Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about Trump's first post-election interview and this new display of the old dynamic where talks like a buffoon, says stuff you can't believe he would really do, and yet the record is replete with instances where he not only did it, but he went farther. I'm going to break this down a little. I'm going to have a separate thing about his proposed pardon of the January 6th defendants. But let's talk about other aspects of his 45-minute Meet the Press interview with Kristen Welker. So the first and most serious is his continued avowal that the members of the January 6th committee should be put in jail. And he singled out Liz Cheney as someone who especially should be put in jail. Just stop on that for a second. As I'll get to momentarily, there's no possible criminal charges or any justification for investigation here. But if there were, what would single out Liz Cheney for more serious crimes? It's simply that she was a Republican. In other words, even the crimes that he's pretending exist are simply crimes against the paramount principle of loyalty to him. And when a Republican comes after him, that violates the principle more. Now, he is, of course, utterly ignorant. He says, yes, I think they really belong in jail, but can't even begin to posit some crime they could have committed. At one point previously, he's bandied about the very serious capital crime of treason, which under the Constitution consists only in giving aid and comfort to an enemy. So again, just in his twisted mind, the state is him, and anyone who gave him trouble gave aid and comfort to the enemy, that being the political opponents inside the United States. So it's, on the one hand, completely twisted and vicious. On the other, as several people say in the coverage of the press conference, it's the very heart and soul of despotism and authoritarianism, right? To come into office and simply harass is too weak a word. Simply try to imprison and ruin the lives of whom? Your political opponents, and that's all. This is like Navalny in Russia, or all the people who have been jailed. It is so fundamental. We're so right at the third rail of what defines what can't happen in a democracy. And yet, why can't it happen now? What's in the way? So let's move to that a little, because he did this very Trumpian thing that we're now used to. And I think first became familiar with the wall, which is assert with bluster that it will happen. Oh, and by the way, and Mexico will pay for it, etc. Then, of course, it doesn't. And he somehow tries to declare victory anyway. Well, what he has said here is he won't go after the members of the January 6th committee. And he seems to lump in, of course, another problem that is back on the familiar scene with us is his incoherence and complete inconsistencies. But also he seems to lump in the Biden family here and Jack Smith. That all, he says, he's going to leave to Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. So the very people he has installed in there on principles of loyalty, and in particular Kash Patel on principles of loyalty and vengeance. Kash Patel, who already has and has published an enemies list that includes many high-level officials that nobody in their right mind could even come up with a possible crime they would have done. That's who he says he'll leave it to. And of course, that means if it doesn't happen, well, that was up to Patel. And if it does happen, well, that was up to Patel. And he can call Patel and push the button or not, as he kind of wants and weighs which way the political winds are blowing. But he cannot bring the criminal cases alone. He can order people, which is only he should never have been able to do, and is going to be an absolute blowing up of well-established norms that have served the nation well since Watergate. But he's going to trammel them and be protected from doing it by the Supreme Court immunity decision, right? All these things are coalescing in really unnerving and frightening ways. But lawyers in the DOJ are going to have to carry this out. And there are sanctions for bringing spurious charges or for bringing filings in court that aren't backed by proper facts, and that failure to live up to your duty of candor and professional responsibility to a court. And I think the DC courts are going to be very much lying in wait and ready to deploy these rules, and other maybe DC bar folks, you're going to be asking if Bondi and Patel push the button. They're going to be asking their attorneys to go on suicide missions. But the missions don't really begin until charges are brought and a court is engaged. So if it's really a nefarious plan, what would happen is just all kinds of harassing conduct. FBI shows up at your house or at your place of work, or you get a subpoena and you have to get a lawyer, and lawyers are expensive, and your family is petrified, and maybe there's an attempt to discipline you in the agency administrative process, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's for anybody within the DOJ apparatus. What's the equivalent for the members of the January 6th committee, many of whom are gone? I mean, good luck trying to find any kind of basis for going after Cheney, but I shouldn't be cavalier. You can certainly audit the taxes and find some jaywalking tickets, or trump up accusations from staff in the office just to sully her reputation. Of course, people who are still in Congress, he's got his partners in crime there, the Jim Jordans of the world, to try to make trouble for current members of Congress. Adam Schiff, fortunately, is now in the Senate, but the Senate, of course, is controlled by Republicans. Anyway, this is all a way of saying that it sort of plays like bluster. It might almost be a kind of purposeful kind of distance from it. And yet it would be really, I think, imprudent to assume it's all bluster, and that to end the this tape, but I'm going to do another one having to do with pardons, gets bound up in the whole question that's quite a tricky, I think, set of circumstances and law and legacy and history and politics, but whether to be issuing protective pardons to people whom Trump is threatening, even including high political officials. But, he is back on the landscape, talking nastier than ever, and who are we to say that he won't act nastier than ever, especially through his installed henchmen at top agencies like Kash Patel. So with this interview, you really get a big taste of what's coming, and it's putrid, and you can't say that he's full of it or that he's not. And that, of course, is part of the technique, if you want to call it that, to keep opponents off balance and be able to maneuver where he wants to when the time comes. It's all a big mess, and it's getting bigger and messier. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.